Good evening and welcome to the channel. What you are about to hear tonight is something that is going to change the way you understand this entire war. Because up until now, the story that the White House has been selling to the American public and to the world is a very specific story. The story was simple. Iran was a threat. Iran was planning to attack. The United States acted in self-defense alongside Israel to protect American lives and American interests. That was the official narrative. That was the justification given to Congress, to allies, and to the American people for launching the most significant military operation in the Middle East since the invasion of Iraq in 2003. And tonight, that narrative is falling apart. Because tonight, Donald Trump himself has admitted something that no sitting American president has ever admitted in the middle of an active war. He admitted that he might have forced Israel's hand. And Pentagon briefers have now acknowledged to congressional staff that Iran was not planning to strike United States forces unless Israel attacked Iran first. Let those two facts land properly. The President of the United States started a war and is now admitting he may have been the one who pushed it into existence. And the Pentagon has quietly told Congress that the imminent threat justification that was used to launch this war may not have been accurate. This is not a small revelation. This is one of the most significant admissions to come out of any American administration during an active military conflict in modern history. But before we go deeper into what Trump said and what it means, we need to talk about what Iran has done in response. Because while Washington is dealing with the political fallout of Trump's admission, Iran is not sitting still. Iran has now officially launched military attacks against 27 United States military bases spread across the Middle East. 27 bases, not one, not five, not 10. 27 separate American military installations across the entire region have been targeted by Iranian missiles, drones, and rockets in what the IRGC is describing as a coordinated and deliberate campaign to make the United States pay a price for every single strike it has launched against Iranian soil. This is day 4 of Operation Epic Fury. And what started as a targeted American and Israeli strike campaign against Iran's nuclear program and military infrastructure has now evolved into something far larger, far more dangerous, and far more difficult to control than anyone in Washington or Jerusalem publicly predicted. Iran is not collapsing. Iran is not surrendering. Iran is fighting back on every front it can reach simultaneously, and it can reach further than most people realized. Let us go through exactly what has happened today and why each individual development matters enormously for where this war goes from here. Let us start with Trump's admission, because it is the story that will define the political and historical narrative of this conflict for years to come. Speaking to reporters today, Trump denied that Israel pulled the United States into this war. He pushed back against the narrative that Netanyahu and the Israeli government had manipulated Washington into taking military action. But in denying that Israel pulled him in, Trump said something even more revealing. He said he might have forced Israel's hand. Think about what that means. The President of the United States is saying that he was not dragged into this war by Israel. He was the one driving it. He was the one pushing it forward. He was the one who made the decision that set these events in motion. And at almost exactly the same moment that Trump was making that admission publicly, Pentagon briefers were sitting in closed-door sessions with congressional staff and telling them something that directly contradicts everything the administration has said publicly about why this war started. Those briefers acknowledged that Iran was not planning to strike United States forces unless Israel attacked Iran first. That single sentence destroys the entire imminent threat justification that the White House used to launch this operation without a formal declaration of war from Congress. The administration told the American public that Iran posed an imminent danger to American lives. The Pentagon is now privately telling Congress that Iran was not planning to attack unless it was attacked first. Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer, who attended the congressional briefing with Secretary of State Marco Rubio, told reporters that he found the answers completely and totally insufficient, and that the briefing raised more questions than it answered. Those questions are now getting louder by the hour. Now, let us talk about what Iran is doing militarily right now, because the political story in Washington does not exist in isolation from the military reality on the ground across the Middle East. Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps has officially confirmed that it has launched attacks against 27 United States military bases across the Middle East. 27. Let us go through what that means geographically. In Bahrain, Iranian missiles targeted the headquarters of the United States Navy's Fifth Fleet in the Jaffair area. The Fifth Fleet is the command center for all American naval operations across the Persian Gulf, the Red Sea, and the Arabian Sea. Hitting the Fifth Fleet headquarters is not a symbolic gesture. It is a direct attack on the nerve center of American naval power in the entire region. Bahrain's international airport was also targeted with a drone causing material damage. Several residential buildings in the capital Manama were struck by Iranian drones over the weekend. In Qatar, 2 ballistic missiles struck Al Udeid Air Base, which is the largest American air base in the Middle East and the forward headquarters of U.S. Central Command. Al Udeid houses thousands of American military personnel and is the operational hub from which much of Operation Epic Fury is being coordinated and directed. Hitting Al Udeid is Iran sending the most direct possible message to American military commanders. We know where you are. We can reach you. And we are willing to hit the very base from which you are running this war against us. Qatar's Civil Aviation Authority has suspended all air navigation indefinitely. Qatar Airways has grounded all flights. All schools in Qatar have moved to remote learning, and public gatherings for Ramadan have been suspended until further notice across the entire country. In Kuwait, Ali Al Salem Air Base came under attack from ballistic missiles, all of which were intercepted by Kuwaiti air defense systems. However, a drone targeted Kuwait International Airport, resulting in minor injuries and limited damage to the passenger terminal building. And then there was the incident that raised serious questions about the operational coherence of this entire military campaign. Kuwait's defense ministry confirmed that several United States warplanes crashed in the country. The Pentagon described it as a friendly fire incident in which Kuwaiti air defense systems mistakenly shot down American aircraft. American pilots flying American jets on American military missions were killed by the air defenses of a country that is supposed to be an American ally and partner. That incident speaks to the chaos and confusion that now characterizes the airspace over the entire Middle East. In Jordan, the armed forces reported intercepting 49 drones and ballistic missiles that entered Jordanian airspace. Debris from the intercepted projectiles caused localized property damage across several areas of the country. In Saudi Arabia, Iranian attacks targeted both Riyadh, the capital, and the eastern province, which is home to the majority of Saudi Arabia's oil infrastructure and the King Abdulaziz Air Base. And as we reported earlier, 2 Iranian drones struck the United States Embassy compound in Riyadh, causing a fire and minor damage. Iraq, the UAE, Israel, and multiple other countries across the region have all been targeted in Iran's campaign against American military presence. 27 bases, 1 coordinated message: you are not untouchable. Nowhere in this region is safe from our reach. Now let us talk about what is happening on the Israeli and Lebanese fronts, because the war has formally and officially expanded beyond just the U.S.-Iran confrontation into a multi-front regional conflict that is growing more dangerous with every passing hour. Israel's Air Force has now dropped more than 1,200 munitions across 24 of Iran's 31 provinces in a single day. That is an extraordinary number. That means Israeli aircraft are striking targets in roughly 77% of Iran's entire territory simultaneously. The Israeli military confirmed it is conducting simultaneous targeted strikes against military targets in both Tehran and Beirut at the same time. Two capital cities being struck simultaneously by the same military in the same operational window. That is a level of military activity that has very few precedents in modern warfare. In Lebanon, Israel has launched a ground incursion into the south of the country, vowing to completely destroy Hezbollah once and for all. Israeli airstrikes have intensified significantly across Beirut's southern suburbs and throughout the Bekaa Valley. Plumes of smoke are visible rising from multiple strike sites across the Lebanese capital. Israel has deployed additional forces to the border with Lebanon specifically to protect Israeli residents in the north from Hezbollah infiltration attempts. Lebanese health ministry figures confirm at least 40 people killed and 246 wounded in Israeli strikes across the country. Lebanon, a country that was already on the edge of complete economic and political collapse before this conflict began, is now facing the full weight of Israeli military operations from both the air and on the ground simultaneously. Trump says the new leadership that has emerged inside Tehran following Khamenei's death has also been targeted. This is a significant statement. It means the United States is not content with having killed the supreme leader. It is now actively targeting whoever has stepped into the leadership vacuum that Khamenei's death created. Under Iran's constitution, when the supreme leader position becomes vacant, a provisional three-member leadership council assumes duties until the assembly of experts convenes to appoint a permanent replacement. Trump is saying that council, those individuals, are now also targets of Operation Epic Fury. The United States is not just trying to destroy Iran's military, it is trying to decapitate Iran's entire leadership structure. Let us talk about the economic picture, because the financial consequences of this war are now being felt not just in the Middle East, but in every major economy on the planet, and they are accelerating. The closure of the Strait of Hormuz by Iran is sending shockwaves across global energy markets with a particular focus on Asia. Japan, South Korea, China, and India, four of the world's largest economies, all depend heavily on Gulf oil that transits through Hormuz. Analysts are now warning that a prolonged closure of the strait could push oil prices beyond $100 per barrel. Before this war began, oil was trading at around $70 to $75. We are already looking at increases that could take oil to levels not seen since the peak of the 2022 energy crisis. And if Hormuz remains closed for weeks rather than days, some analysts are modeling scenarios where oil surpasses $150 per barrel with consequences for global inflation. That would be severe and lasting. The national average price of gasoline in the United States rose 12 cents per gallon on Monday alone. That was the largest single-day spike in 4 years. European stock markets are deeply in the red, with bank shares down 3.8%, insurance stocks down 4.2%, and mining stocks down 3.9%. Even the aerospace and defense sector, which normally benefits from military conflicts, shed 2.5%. Qatar Airways has grounded all flights. Airlines across the region have canceled over 1,500 flights in a single day. Hundreds of thousands of passengers are stranded across the Middle East, with no clear timeline for when normal aviation operations will resume. China's Foreign Minister Wang Yi has formally condemned the U.S.-Israeli attack on Iran as unacceptable and called the killing of a sovereign leader a blatant violation of international law. China is particularly exposed to the economic consequences of the Hormuz closure because it produces far less oil than it consumes and relies heavily on crude imports to keep its massive economy running. Beijing has not yet announced any specific countermeasures, but the language coming from Chinese officials is the strongest it has been since this conflict began. Now let us step back and look at the big picture of where this war stands tonight on the evening of March 3rd, 2026. because the picture that emerges when you put all of these pieces together is one that should deeply concern every person watching this video, regardless of their political views or their position on the rights and wrongs of this conflict. The United States launched a war based on a justification that its own Pentagon is now privately acknowledging may not have been accurate. The president has admitted he may have been the driving force behind pushing this war into existence. Iran has responded not by collapsing, but by attacking 27 American military bases across the region, closing the world's most important oil choke point, striking U.S. embassies, launching missiles at Gulf cities, and activating Hezbollah on a second front in Lebanon. The death toll inside Iran has reached 787 people. 6 American service members are dead. Over 1,200 Israeli munitions have fallen across 24 Iranian provinces. Lebanon is being invaded on the ground. Qatar is in lockdown. Saudi Arabia's oil infrastructure is under threat. And Secretary of State Marco Rubio is standing in front of cameras telling the world that the hardest hits from the United States are still yet to come. This is not how a war that is going according to plan looks. This is how a war that has taken on a life of its own looks. A war that began with specific stated objectives, destroying Iran's nuclear program and missile industry, and has now expanded into something far larger and far more complex than those objectives can contain. The big wave that Trump keeps promising has not arrived yet, but the waves that are already here are doing damage that the entire region and the entire world will be dealing with for a very long time. History is being written right now. Every hour of this conflict will be analyzed and debated for decades. And we will be here every single evening bringing you the clearest and most honest picture of what is happening and what it means. Subscribe now and turn on your notifications, because this war is moving faster than any single news cycle can keep up with, and you cannot afford to miss what comes next. Now we want to hear directly from you. A. Now that Trump has admitted he may have forced Israel's hand and the Pentagon has told Congress that Iran was not planning to attack first, do you believe the United States had a legitimate justification for launching Operation Epic Fury? Or was this a war of choice that the American people were not told the truth about? B. With Iran now having attacked 27 American military bases across the Middle East and showing no signs of backing down, do you think the United States strategy of escalating pressure is actually working? Or is it making the situation more dangerous and more unpredictable with every passing day? C. And with the Strait of Hormuz closed, oil prices heading toward $100 per barrel, global stock markets falling, and Qatar in complete lockdown, do you believe the economic damage from this war is going to trigger a global recession that hits ordinary people in countries far away from the Middle East far harder than any missile ever could? Drop your answer in the comments right now. We read every single one, and tonight your perspective matters more than ever.